puberty is already a challenging transition, but when you add diabetes to the mix, it introduces with several more considerations for both those who are affected as well as their caregivers. Today I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Rohan Palshetkar, gynecologist on Catch Up with Kiara. Dr. Rohan, I can share from my personal experience that during the puberty phase, managing diabetes was very difficult. Like my HbA1c had gone to 11 and my sugar levels were very alarming. And I vividly remember that I had to wake up every day at 3 a.m. to see अरे sugars तो बहुत normal है. But then when I woke up at 7 a.m. it's like 300, 350, 400. How would you shed light on this? Like, does diabetes affect puberty?
Okay. So Kiara, firstly, thank you for having me on your show. I would say I think you're one of the most outspoken people on type 1 diabetes, and I think you're doing such a fabulous job in bringing about the awareness of all of this. And I'm glad you brought about the entire issue of type 1 diabetes and puberty. Look, India is the diabetes capital of the world. Okay? In fact, as a gynecologist, the first thing that we're taught in med school is that, look, Indian women have a 10 times higher chance of developing diabetes in pregnancy. So I can't even imagine the kind of stress that a teenager, or I would not even say a teenager because periods are starting much earlier now, someone with type 1 diabetes going through puberty, experiencing those changes. See, firstly, whenever you get periods in your puberty, it always happens that you end up having irregular periods as it is. Add type 1 diabetes to the mix. One, you're going to go completely haywire. Your periods are going to get irregular, even worse than what they already are. Look, I am a parent of a daughter. I have a 6-year-old girl. So I can imagine the kind of complex changes that will be going through her mind when she's going to be hitting puberty. Alright, so I can imagine the stress that a parent goes through when handling the child. Well, let me just give you an example. Now see, what is type 1 diabetes? That the pancreas, which create the insulin, have no way of creating insulin because of some autoimmune disorder which has caused the damage to the cells. So generally this is how we look at it, that for every 30 grams of carbohydrate, you're taking 1 unit of insulin. Am I right?
Yes.
I think you will be able to give a little bit more insight.
Yes, that's true.
When you hit puberty, estrogen, progesterone, okay, they are hormones which basically dictate the entire menstrual cycle, and they are the ones which get activated during your puberty times. Now the thing is, with insulin, what is insulin doing? It's bringing your sugars down.
Correct, yes.
But what does estrogen and progesterone do?
Boost
Push your sugars
spikes
up.
it, correct.
Number 2, Kiara, you're a sportswoman. Most of the teenagers, when they are going through sports, like now you see 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds playing sports. At puberty, you're pretty much on the rise of your career.
Exactly.
So at that point, there's stress on your body. So what does stress do?
और शुगर बढ़ा देता है हमारी.
Exactly. So then insulin बढ़ाना पड़ता है. What do you expend when you're playing sports? Carbohydrates, you're using up that for energy. Abhi, now if you give a higher dose of insulin, you're playing that hard, balancing it out is super stressful.
True.
Then with all due respect, teenagers' social lives, the drama begins.
Oh, yes.
You end up seeing the entire complex mental and physical changes, which does play a major role on it.
True.
In addition, exams start coming up.
Stress होता है.
Now I remember when I used to give my exams. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. Because of stress in my 10th grade, I had alopecia areata. What is alopecia areata? You lose your hair.
Okay.
For 10th standard kid to have this kind of stress, see, there's a hormone called cortisol, which basically shoots your sugars up as well. So again, you have to be able to adjust that. As a parent, is that number 1, involve the child in the treatment plan. Yes, you're expecting a lot out of the child at the age of, say,
11 to 14, basically.
11 to 14.
Correct.
Firstly, I know that you've been diagnosed at a very early age.
I was diagnosed at the age of 2.
Yeah. So now 11 to 14, imagine telling a 11 to 14-year-old who wants to chill with his friends, go partying with his or her friends, you're wanting the child to monitor their sugars when they go out partying. You want the child to monitor their sugars before they decide to go and play a sport, before going to take an exam. So if you bring about that awareness, you're definitely going to be making the child feel responsible for his or her own health.
It's like independent ho jayegi. It's like a step towards that.
Exactly. Eventually, you want your child to take that
But
responsibility.
at that age, we are like, "Kyun aise kar?" That's the thing that
Listen, I'm talking about a utopic world where we are able to get parents and children on the same page. But I think that's one thing which would probably help. You'll be able to explain to her that, look, you do have type 1 diabetes.
Yes.
The periods are going to tend to be a little bit irregular. You need to tell us whether you have missed your period. You need to maintain a diary to understand where we need to control our sugars. At the same point, now here is where your doctor comes into play. You need to have a conversation with your doctor, involve the doctor in your planning of the insulin management as well. Understand which are the stress points, and accordingly you can handle the dose which will regularize the, I won't say regularize, but make you more, make the child more comfortable